An incident at the Wyoming County Correctional Facility this weekend put 2 officers and a sergeant in the hospital. YNN's Rose Eckler spoke to the union vice president, who said this is becoming an all too common occurrence at area facilities, and something needs to be done.
In Attica, there's been 8 assaults on staff in the last month. Wyoming's had a few. Orleans, we had the officer whose drink was tainted just a short while ago. Over the weekend as well, at Collins, we had an officer assaulted in the SHU 200. Wendy, we had an officer assaulted. 5 Points.
Assaults on officers inside the walls of these jails is on the rise.
Back to 2008, this is the highest number, and yet we have 6,000 less inmates than we did in 2008.
But now the question is, why?
It's a combination that we have 12,000 inmates in double bunk situations in these jails. They've changed the classification of inmates. For instance, when an inmate was in for whatever, he may be classified to be a maximum security inmate. Due to spacing, they've changed that now, and those inmates that used to be in maximum security inmates are now in the mediums. And you combine that with the inmates being released out of SHU early.
On Saturday, an incident occurred at the Wyoming Correctional Facility after an inmate was released early from the special housing unit.
The officer on the dorm noticed that he was in the TV room, went to confront him, asked him to return to the dorm. When the officer turned around, the inmate hit him in the back of the head and attacked him. Scuffle ensued. The officer pulled his response pin. Response came. Another officer was injured in that response. Eventually, they got the inmate under control, and while taking him to the infirmary, where all inmates go before they're going back to SHU, upon getting out of the van, he continued to struggle. A sergeant was there. The sergeant ended up getting knocked, hitting his head against the van, having a seizure, ended up with a broken wrist.
But this isn't the first incident to happen that week, or even the last that day.
Yeah, a short while later, in a different dorm, there was basically a 4-inmate fight with weapons involved, where 2 inmates were cut with weapons. No officer injuries and no serious injuries to the inmates, from what we were told.
New York State Department of Correction Acting Commissioner Anthony Annucci said, quote, "My thoughts are with the 3 injured correction officers. The safety of our staff is a constant focus of this department, and it is always difficult and upsetting when someone is hurt doing their job. Our assessment right now is that this was a single inmate's actions and not indicative of a systematic problem." End quote. Dildine said the first thing that can be done to fix this problem is to get rid of double bunking. He said the 3 officers are out of the hospital, but they have not returned to work. Reporting from the Batavia newsroom, Rose Eckler, YNN.